Amara, answer me. Why is there an elderly couple I do not recognize living in the $1 million lake house I bought for you?" Her words froze the lively Thanksgiving table in an instant. A sharp, hollow sound rang out. Across from me, my father, Kellen, had dropped the knife he was holding onto his plate. I stopped my hand halfway to my mouth, a piece of sweet potato pie still balanced on my fork, and slowly looked up. The gaze of my grandmother, Nana Adonaiah, pierced through me, skewering my sister, Zenzali, who sat stiffly beside me, and then our parents. Having recently returned from several years abroad, my grandmother seemed much stricter than before, wrapped in an aura that didn't allow anyone to approach her lightly. "Nana, what did you just say?" My voice was trembling. The words sounded far too surreal for someone like me, who could barely scrape together the money for lunch today. "Did you not hear me, Amara? I am talking about the vacation house by the lake, the home I bought for you 3 years ago for your future." Her voice was calm, but beneath the surface, I could feel something like boiling magma. "Nana, couldn't there be some kind of mistake?" I gathered all my courage as I spoke. My heart was racing wildly. "I don't own a house, not a vacation home, not even my own apartment. I am basically homeless right now. I was evicted from my place last month, and I have been crashing on friends' couches ever since." "What?" My grandmother's eyebrow twitched. I knew something was wrong. As soon as I got back, I went to see the place as a surprise. You weren't there. Instead, an elderly couple I had never seen before opened the door. They said they were the parents of Zenzali's husband, Quincy. "Zenzali, would you care to explain what is going on?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my sister Zenzali's hand shake as she held her wine glass. I turned to look at her. Her eyes were darting back and forth. Her breathing was fast and shallow. "Nana!" Zenzali cried out, almost shrieking. That must be some kind of misunderstanding. Maybe you went to the wrong address. There are so many similar houses out there, and you just got back. You must be exhausted." "That's right, Mama," my mother Ifena intervened. Beads of sweat covered her forehead. "It's just the jet lag. Your memories are getting mixed up. Come on now, the turkey's getting cold." "Silence!" My grandmother's shout fell over my mother's words like a physical blow. Despite her age, her voice was so powerful that everyone at the table flinched. My mind has not failed me yet. The address, the exterior, it was exactly the house for which I signed the contract. And furthermore, my grandmother reached into her purse, pulled out a photograph, and slid it across the table. "This is what Quincy's parents, who were living in that house, told me. We are staying in this home owned by our son's wife, Zenzali." The moment those words echoed, all the color drained from Zenzali's face. In the photo was a beautiful lakeside mansion, and standing in front of it, smiling at the camera, were Zenzali, her husband Quincy, and his parents. "We demand an explanation for this photo." Faced with irrefutable evidence, the air in the room became thick and heavy. I stared at the photo, doubting my own eyes. It was the same place Zenzali had posted on social media with the caption, "My new vacation getaway," while I was killing myself, working 3 part-time jobs. That was my house. "What is happening?" I stood up. "Mama, Daddy, what does this mean? Nana bought me a house? Then why am I living like a nomad right now?" At my question, my father shifted his gaze uncomfortably. Amara, it's complicated. Today is Thanksgiving. Talking about money at a family dinner isn't exactly appropriate, is it? Tomorrow we can sit down in my study and talk it all through properly." My grandmother cut him off coldly. "No, we are going to clear everything up right here and right now. Amara, you truly know nothing, do you? About the $1 million vacation home I sent to you 3 years ago and how it was used." $1 million. The room spun. The balance in my bank account when I checked it this morning was $150. Working 3 jobs, sacrificing sleep, only to see everything disappear into student loan payments and basic living expenses. $1 million was a figure I couldn't even fathom. I know nothing. I have never seen a vacation house, and I was never told that anyone bought one for me. At my words, my grandmother's expression softened slightly. A flash of pity flickered across her face, but it disappeared as quickly as it came, replaced by a hard stare as she turned toward my parents. Kellen Efena, you told me this. You said, Amara is mentally unstable and incapable of managing a large sum of money. Until she becomes independent, we will act as co-guardians and manage that vacation home in her name. What? I couldn't believe my ears. Wait a minute, Mama, Daddy, when exactly have I ever been mentally unstable? I graduated at the top of my class and have worked diligently ever since. I have never caused you trouble, not even once. Amara, calm down, my mother said in a low voice. There was no concern in her eyes, only a warning that said, don't say anything unnecessary. You're getting worked up right now, see? This is exactly what I mean by unstable. Don't you dare! I jumped up. My chair flipped over behind me with a loud thud. I am perfectly normal. The ones who are sick are you. When I couldn't pay my rent, you told me I wasn't trying hard enough and needed to be independent, didn't you? And yet, behind my back, you handed over a house in my name to Zenzali. Amara, how dare you speak to your parents like that? My father shouted, slamming his fist on the table. We did it for your own good. You don't have the capacity to manage assets, so we entrusted it to Zenzali. For my own good? The absurdity of it all left me too numb even to cry. Oh, shut up already, Zenzali snapped. A simple, boring woman like you doesn't deserve a house that beautiful anyway. We were just putting it to good use. You should be thanking us. Zenzali, you... My vision clouded with frustration. My whole body was shaking with rage. This was family. Was this what people bound by blood did to one another? Enough. My grandmother's voice sliced cleanly through the swamp of shouting. She rose slowly, leaning on her cane, and walked over to me. She placed her hand gently on my trembling shoulder. Amara is right. All of you are rotten, completely rotten to the core. Mama, that is going too far, my father said, his face contorting. We did everything for the sake of the family. My grandmother looked at him with cold eyes. There is no family here. There are only hyenas who fed on their own daughter's property. Tonight, everything will be settled. She pulled a smartphone from her pocket and pressed a speed dial number. Come in, please. Yes, right now. The front door opened, letting in a gust of cold night air, along with a man. It was Attorney Sterling, my grandmother's personal lawyer. He was carrying a thick briefcase. Mrs. Mbewe, I have brought all the documents as instructed, Attorney Sterling said in a professional tone, laying a heavy stack of papers on the table. What is all this? My father took a step back. Kellen, Ifena, and Zenzali, my grandmother declared. Now I will go through every single fraudulent act you committed, page by page. Do not think for one moment that you can escape. I wiped my tears and lifted my head. The warmth of my grandmother's hand gave me strength. That's right. It was no time for crying. I had a duty to make them face the consequences they deserved. In the room, which had fallen into a deathly silence, my small laugh echoed. I stood up slowly, shedding the mask of the scared victim I had worn until now. Pretending to wipe my tears with a napkin, I looked at my family with cold, merciless eyes. Enough acting, Nana. Yes, certainly, Amara. I've had my fun, my grandmother replied, standing firmly by my side, her cane thumping the floor. My father, my mother, and Zenzali were speechless at our sudden transformation. Amara, why are you laughing? My mother asked with a trembling voice. Don't you see? We were playing with you, I said coldly. I continued without mercy. A week ago, Nana got in touch with me, not through you, but through my aunt. She said, it seems the family has been intercepting my letters and deliberately isolating you. From that moment, we knew everything. That's why we set the stage for tonight, this so-called Thanksgiving dinner. We waited for the moment you let your guard down and confessed your crimes with your own mouths. What? You set a trap for us? My father turned pale and tried to stand up. Sit down. One word from my grandmother nailed him to his chair. This is not over yet. In fact, it has only just begun. Attorney Sterling, please, let's start with the forged gift agreement. The handwriting analysis is complete. Attorney Sterling slid a document toward the center of the table. It was a real estate registry record. This property, Lakeside Haven, was originally purchased by Mrs. Mbiwe in the name of Amara Mbiwe. However, the current registered owner is Zenzali Vaughn, her younger sister. The date of the transfer is October 15th, 3 years ago. The sale price was $1. It was recorded as a gift. $1. That was the price of my life. I stared at the date. October of 3 years ago, the exact moment I had graduated from college and started drowning under student loan payments and living expenses. The moment my life started to derail. I always thought something was wrong, I said quietly. I graduated as the valedictorian. I had recommendations from professors and made it to the final interviews at several major firms. And yet, somehow, every single one of them rejected me without explanation. I fixed my gaze on my father. His eyes shifted away. Around that time, anonymous emails were sent to the human resources departments of the companies I was about to join, emails claiming that Amara Mbiwe suffers from severe mental illness and was a troublemaker in college. "What are you talking about?" He tried to play dumb. "IP addresses don't lie, Daddy. The emails were sent from this house, and the timestamps match the hours you were in your study. You pushed me into unemployment on purpose. Because if I became independent, you couldn't keep committing fraud using my name. It wasn't for my own good. And you, Mama," I said, turning to my mother. "I finally understand why, no matter how hard I worked, I never saved any money, and why I kept failing credit card checks." Attorney Sterling pulled out a set of bank statements. "This is the account Amara used to pay her student loans. She deposited money every month from her part-time jobs. However, the funds were automatically redirected, not to the loan agency, but to a hidden account in Mrs. Mbiwe's name." That is... My mother choked back a cry. "And yet, Mama, you kept telling me I wasn't trying hard enough, that I should be more like Zenzali. Because of you, I was blacklisted as a delinquent debtor. I couldn't even rent a decent apartment. You destroyed my credit score. You forced me to juggle 3 jobs and still live in fear of ending up on the street." My mother covered her mouth with trembling hands. My poverty wasn't bad luck. It wasn't a lack of effort. It was a cage carefully and deliberately built by my own parents. "And you, Zenzali," I turned to my sister. She glared back at me as if she were the victim. "Quincy's parents are living in the vacation house, right?" "So what if they are?" Zenzali replied, sticking out her chin. "Quincy's mother and father retired and wanted a quiet place to live, so I let them stay there. What's wrong with that? It's better than leaving the place empty." "You let them stay?" I raised an eyebrow. "For free?" "Of course. They are family." "Don't lie." I nodded slightly to Attorney Sterling. Without a word, he presented the next document. "These are the deposit records for a bank account in the name of Zenzali Vaughn," Attorney Sterling read calmly. "On the first day of every month, $5,000 is transferred from the account of Quincy Vaughn's parents. The stated purpose of the transfer is rent." My grandmother spoke first. "Zenzali, so not only did you steal Amara's house, but you also used it to squeeze rent out of your in-laws." "No, that's not it," Zenzali screamed. "It was a maintenance fee. It's a huge house. It costs money to keep it up. And Quincy's parents are wealthy anyway. $5,000 a month is nothing to them." "That is not the point," I said quietly but firmly. "You took my house without permission and made $5,000 a month off it. Meanwhile, I, the rightful owner, could barely afford the next day's meal. Did you know that?" Zenzali's eyes darted away. "Mama, listen." My father leaned forward, trying to intervene. "Yes, maybe the way we did it was a bit harsh, but look at the result. The house is well maintained, and Zenzali's in-laws are happy. Isn't that much better for the family as a whole than letting Amara live there all by herself? We can always give Amara some money later. A severance payment. No, a settlement payment, and settle this." "A settlement payment," my grandmother repeated softly. The stem of the wine glass in her hand creaked ominously. When my granddaughter was about to sleep on the street, you were living in luxury on her property, and now you think you can fix it with settlement money. But Mama, Amara is still young. Hardships build character, don't they? Shut up! My grandmother's roar echoed through the room. I wrote to Amara every month. I asked her, "How is the house? Are you having any problems?" But I never received a single reply. Instead, Kellen kept telling me, "Amara is so mentally unstable, she can't even write a thank you note." I shook my head. Not a single letter ever reached me. "Of course not," my grandmother said coldly, turning toward my parents. "Every letter I sent was addressed to this house. They claimed Amara was mentally unstable and said they would keep them for her, and they never gave me her real address. They tore up my letters and cut off all contact from Amara too, didn't they?" "That's because," my mother shouted, "you seemed so busy with work overseas." The reason my grandmother and I couldn't stay in touch was no longer a mystery. It wasn't just the physical distance, but the malicious wall my parents had built between us. Everything finally clicked into place, revealing the total ugliness of what they had done. "Enough excuses," I said, taking a deep breath and signaling to Attorney Sterling. "Let's confirm the facts from a legal standpoint." Attorney Sterling showed the alleged transfer agreement on his tablet that Zenzali used as the basis for her ownership claim. "Ms. Vaughn, you stated earlier that this document represents a legitimate transfer from Amara 3 years ago, correct?" "Yes, just look at the date!" Zenzali cried out, soaked in sweat. "Indeed, it says so. We will address the handwriting shortly. But first, we performed a digital forensic analysis of the paper itself." He pressed a button, and a magnified image of the document appeared. Beneath the paper fibers, a pattern of tiny points emerged, imperceptible to the naked eye. "This is a machine identification code. Many color laser printers embed microscopic yellow dots that record the printer's serial number and the date and time of printing." "What?" Zenzali's mouth hung wide open. "After analyzing these dots, we determined that this document was printed exactly 6 months ago." "How strange," I said with a cold smile. "Why would a contract supposedly signed 3 years ago be written on paper that was printed only 6 months ago?" Then I spoke slowly and clearly. "In other words, this document was manufactured 6 months ago." I looked from my father to my mother and finally to Zenzali. "And I can imagine exactly why you suddenly needed to forge it 6 months ago." My father's face turned ashen. "6 months ago, Nana got in touch with you and said, 'My work is finally stabilizing. I might be coming home soon.'" "Go on. You panicked. Until then, you had been illegally occupying Amara's house and treating it as if it were Zenzali's, based on nothing more than verbal promises. But once Nana returned and checked the property records, your lies would be exposed. So you rushed to forge documents to give yourselves legal cover. But if you had asked me to sign it, you would have been exposed. So Zenzali copied my handwriting and forged the signature with a date from 3 years ago, didn't she?" My father grabbed his head and groaned. I had hit the nail on the head. For 3 years they had done whatever they pleased, counting on Nana not returning. But the moment they heard she might come back, they panicked and rushed to manufacture evidence. That panic was what led to their fatal error. Attorney Sterling continued mercilessly. "According to the handwriting analysis, this signature matches Ms. Zenzali Vaughn's handwriting with a 99% probability. This constitutes a clear forgery of a private document with a seal. Furthermore, Ms. Vaughn falsely claimed to be Amara's legal guardian and withdrew $1 million from Amara's account under the pretext of maintenance costs for the vacation home. That constitutes fraud and embezzlement." "Fraud!" Zenzali began to shake uncontrollably. "Nana, this can't be real. Daddy, say something. You were the one who said, as long as we backdate it, everything will be fine." "Idiot! Shut your mouth!" my father roared. But it was too late. "The police have already been notified," Attorney Sterling said calmly. "Ms. Vaughn, criminal charges will be filed against you immediately." "No, no, no, no!" Zenzali grabbed her head and broke into tears. Daddy told me to do it. He said Amara is stupid, that she would never notice. He told me just to copy her signature. I only did what I was told." "What? Zenzali, you're selling out your own father?" my father roared. "But it's the truth. Mama said it too. She laughed and said Amara could never pay back her student loans anyway, so we might as well use the money for our own benefit." "Zenzali, don't say another word," my mother screamed, lunging toward her. It was painfully ugly. The same people who had been preaching about family ties and love moments before were now throwing accusations at each other, desperately trying to shift the blame. My grandmother watched the spectacle with cold eyes and spoke in a low voice. "Enough." With those words, the shouting stopped dead. "I have seen enough of your ugliness. Do not stain this table any further." She turned to Attorney Sterling. "Mr. Sterling, the revision of my will is complete, correct?" "Yes, Mrs. Mbiwe." Attorney Sterling pulled out a new set of documents. "This is the final will. It completely revokes the inheritance rights of Kellen Mbiwe, Ifena Mbiwe, and Zenzali Vaughn, as well as Zenzali Vaughn's spouse, and designates Ms. Amara Mbiwe as the sole heir to the entire estate." "The entire estate!" my parents screamed in unison. "Mama, please wait! Anything but that! We're sorry! We have reflected on our actions! Please!" There was no trace of pride left. Only a man desperately clinging to money. My mother did the same. "I'm sorry, Mama. I had a moment of weakness. I will never do it again. Please, reconsider." From above, my grandmother responded with a frozen voice. "If you want to apologize, do it to Amara. She is the victim, not me." The eyes of my parents and Zenzali turned toward me all at once, pleading, fawning, and beneath it all, that same arrogant assumption. We are family, so she will forgive us. I slowly raised my wine glass and took a sip. Then I smiled sweetly. "No, I possess no mercy. The only thing I have for you is an invoice." I accepted the last document from Attorney Sterling. "This is a demand for restitution for unjust enrichment over the last 3 years, along with damages for emotional distress. The total amount owed is $2 million. If payment is not made by tomorrow, the criminal process will proceed immediately." $2 million, my father cried. "There is no way we have that amount of money." "Then sell what you have," I said coldly. "Your house, your cars, your jewelry, and that house Quincy's parents are living in. You will evict them immediately." "No!" Zenzali collapsed onto the floor. "Kicking out Quincy's parents. If I do that, he'll divorce me." "That is none of my business. That is your problem, Zenzali," I interrupted coldly. "When I lost my job and my credit was destroyed, did any of you worry about me? No. You all mocked me. Now it's your turn to taste that same misery." At that moment, a loud knock sounded at the dining room door, and 2 officers with sheriff badges entered. "Zenzali Vaughn, please come with us to the station." "No! Help me! I didn't do anything wrong!" Zenzali screamed as she was dragged away. Next, my parents, still in a state of shock, were also handcuffed. "Amara, I'm sorry, Amara!" my mother sobbed, looking at me through her tears. "I was wrong. Please, please drop the charges." "Goodbye, Mama," I said without looking away. "Count the wrinkles on your face in prison. You'll have plenty of time." As the police sirens faded into the distance, only my grandmother, Attorney Sterling, and I remained in the vast dining room. I let out a long sigh. It wasn't exhaustion. It was relief, as if a curse had finally been lifted. "It's over, Nana." "Yes, it's over," she said softly, pulling me into a hug. "No, actually, that's not quite right. This is where your real life begins." It has been 1 year since that night. Now I'm standing on the wooden deck of Lakeside Haven. This place is truly mine. Zenzali, her husband, and his parents were forcibly evicted within 72 hours following that night. Her in-laws claimed they had been told the house belonged to their daughter-in-law and that they, too, were victims. However, because they had lived there knowing the rent was suspiciously low and the contract was flawed, they were questioned as potential accomplices. Zenzali was sentenced to 3 years in prison and is currently incarcerated. She was divorced by Quincy and left completely bankrupt by damages and legal fees. My parents lost all social credibility and were shunned by all our relatives. My father's business went under, and I have heard they now barely survive in a small apartment, but I don't even know their contact information and I don't want to know it. As for me, I started a new business in this quiet house, online consulting, financial planning, and support for victims of fraud. When I began sharing my own harrowing experiences, the response was overwhelming. Before I knew it, my schedule was booked months in advance, and my income grew to dozens of times what I earned when I was juggling 3 jobs. I no longer depend on anyone. I have achieved complete financial independence. On weekends, my grandmother comes to stay here, and we sit by the fireplace talking and laughing, as if we were making up for the 3 years they stole from us. One day, quietly contemplating the lake, she said, "You didn't just take back the future they took from you. With integrity and courage, you built one that is even brighter. This is my home, the place I protect, the place I love." "I am happy, Nana," I said from the bottom of my heart. Did you like the story, and which city are you listening from? Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story, with love and respect.